In this video, I will show you how to create a portfolio that will get you a job. Throughout the last few years, I have worked on multiple portfolios and I applied with a portfolio straight out of uni and I got a job with that portfolio. In today's video, I will walk you through the process step by step and give you a few tips and tricks in Illustrator that can also be applied in InDesign, and then I will go on to show you my finished portfolio. You will need to pick your best projects that you've already worked on. I would recommend to show a minimum of 3 projects. Ideally, the project should show a variety of work, and ideally you would want to at least pick one project that you can show from start to finish. And then you will obviously need a software to work on. So I used Illustrator for my portfolio, but you can also use InDesign, which is really similar to Illustrator, and they are somewhat interchangeable. And then you can use free softwares like PowerPoint or the Apple version Keynote. And you can also use Canva as well. If you want me to go into any of those into more detail, do let me know and I will film another video. So where to begin? After you have chosen your best projects that you want to include, do make sure that you have them organized somewhere in a folder. I would recommend showing the development, so mood board, material boards, concept boards, sketches, any development, and then the design stages, so any visuals, and ideally also technical drawings, so sections and plans and anything along those lines. As I said before, you should make sure to include a variety of drawings, and ideally, especially if you're coming straight out of uni, try to show a variety of sectors. By that I mean show residential design work, show retail design work, show hospitality design work, education design work, anything that goes into some of those sectors. But I would say residential and retail is a good starting point. But it is also important to consider who you're applying to. So for example, if the place that you're applying to is specialized in retail design, try to focus on retail design projects within your portfolio and ideally lead with them as well if you can. It's no problem if you also include, for example, residential work in that portfolio to just show a variety, especially if that project is well done or if it shows something that the retail project hasn't shown, then I would say it's definitely worth it including that as well. But if you do not have any retail experience, then don't worry, just include what you have. It's better applying and showing what you can do than not applying at all. So how do you lay out a portfolio? You always start with a title page, and then after that I would recommend a page where you introduce yourself. You can add any of your skills and you can also write a brief description of your design philosophy, and you can also include a picture of yourself if you like. Then I like to do a contents page, but you don't necessarily have to do that, but I would recommend doing a contents page if your portfolio is quite long. And then after that you can jump into the projects. And what I quite like to do is towards the end, I like to include all my technical drawings. And I don't find that the technical drawings have to necessarily be laid out really prettily or nicely. So the first bit is where I focus on design and aesthetics. And then the last few pages are where I am a little bit more practical. And I normally try to include at least one section and one plan. And then what I also like to do is for the last page, do a bit of a schedule, and for that I would recommend just choosing one page of your schedule, because I know schedules can be quite long, so don't include 3 or 4 pages, just include one. Another tip is to always send out your portfolio even if they don't request one. It shows that you're professional and eager for the job, and it's always good for them to just flick through your work. I would also say that if you are getting into the next stage and you're getting invited for an interview, bring along a printed out portfolio, because that always makes a good impression. And you can always, while you talk about your skills, also show them in your portfolio. Now that we've got that out of the way, we can move straight into the Illustrator tutorial. I've already opened Illustrator, and the first thing you're going to want to do is type in an A3 size, and I'm going to have my portfolio as a landscape portfolio, and for now I'm just going to start out with 5 artboards, and then you can name it something. Let's name it interior design portfolio 2024. The rest looks all good. All you do is click on create. Then you are greeted with this blank space here. What I would recommend is to actually go on Pinterest and look for some inspiration. So we can actually do that together. So I actually have a pin board with all my portfolio inspiration. A lot of these are quite bold and graphic designy, which can be quite nice. Here's an interior design one, but this one is more residential and I have a lot of retail experience. That won't be quite right, but I quite like to just go through these and just look at the color schemes. For example, we could go with this color scheme. So what I sometimes even do is download the image and then bring the image in, and then you can use it as a reference, but I quite like to color pick from it. So here's the eyedropper tool. So we're going to use this color here. It's quite lovely. And then all you do is you can do any shapes with this tool here. You can even do ellipses and stuff like that, but we're going to focus on the rectangles. So then you resize it. Doesn't matter if it goes a little bit above the board, it will only print what's on the board. And then I'm going to do another rectangle and I'm going to color pick this color. Just going to replicate what I can see there, but I think the most successful portfolios are portfolios where you've taken inspiration from a portfolio but you've added your own spin to it. I'm going to do another square here. This for now is just a placeholder. Then I'm just going to bring in the picture. This is just a project I did at my previous company and it's just a bit of a sketch visual, and this was an office design job. I'm just going to use this as a little bit of a placeholder. So in order to crop the image, you just go on there. Yeah, I think that looks quite nice. You can add an effect to things, so what I quite like to do is add a drop shadow, but then make it a bit less intense. So kind of like that, and then I'm going to change the colour of that to this. And then you can add a text box, interior design, and then I go into the properties and make that a little bit bigger. I quite like this font right here, so I'm just going to click on that. This just takes a lot of playing around with. I want that to sit a bit closer to each other. What I quite like is to play with fonts as well. So that looks quite nice. I quite like to expand the tracking a little bit as well. I think it looks quite nice. In order to duplicate quickly, I press Option. Those two cursors appear, and then in order to copy something along a specific axis, you just press Shift and hold it, and then you let go. I've added just a little bit of text as a placeholder. You can add whatever you like. I like to keep colours quite similar. You could even, if you wanted to, do it like in the example and actually do a visual fully like this. I think I'm gonna just go back. So in my portfolio, I have then done a bit of an about me page and included a picture of myself. And then I've included my soft skills here and done this graphic here. I've also got a little bit of a graphic of these here as well. So let me teach you how to do that. So I'm just going to copy this, and on the new page you can then paste in place, and that way when you're flicking through the pages after you've exported your PDF, things don't jump around, they're all in the same place. So let's take this absolutely lovely picture of me as an example. in this case it fits pretty well. But what you can also do is, if you don't like the shape or if you want to play around with the shape, you just draw a shape on it. And then I like to switch it so that I can see what I'm doing. And then you select both of these and right click and then turn it into a clipping mask by saying make clipping mask. And then you've turned it into a new shape. And then if you want, you can drop a shadow. And you can change the offset here as well if it's maybe a little bit too much. So yeah, that looks quite nice. Just going to duplicate this and release the clipping mask and actually show you what it would look like with a different tool. I've actually never done this, so see if that looks cool or not. If you can't see it, it's because there was no color selected here, so you just select a color and let's see what this looks like. So you could do this if you wanted to. And in order to draw a line, you can use this line tool. And again, I haven't selected a color here, so I'm just gonna choose white, and it's super faint. So you can just change the stroke here. 3 pixels, that looks nice. I'm just gonna copy over what I did here. Again, you can change the font to anything you like. Change it to this, for example. This font's quite nice. I quite like that. I quite like the font New York, which is what I've used there. So these are some of the fonts that I used, and they're all downloaded from DaFont. And with these fonts, do check if they're 100% free to use or if you need a license when you're doing anything sort of commercial. But for private use, so doing a portfolio, it should be absolutely fine to use them. But do check each individually font. Then I thought what I would also share is how to make these icons here, how to make something like this, and how to make something like this. I will start with the icons. I actually go onto a website, it's called Freepik, and then you can search anything you like in there. So for example, email icon, and you can check what they've got. I downloaded this one. It says free license attribution is required. It also tells you the file format, and what's perfect is when it has an Illustrator file. Then when you open that up, you get something like this, and it's all grouped, but you can just copy individual, let's say this icon here, copy that, and then you can change the color of this. This is so much easier if you download an Illustrator file, but you can technically also use PNGs. It might be a little bit harder to change the color, so I'd recommend trying to find a file that is an Illustrator file. So you can change the color. I quite like the white, but you can do any color you like. You can also change anything here, so you can change the line weight, you can change the opacity, and you can go crazy with some funky color or something. But I'm going to change it back to white. You can resize it, it's just a normal Illustrator object. Then for those smaller circles, what I do is I literally just drew a circle, and in order to keep it at the same proportion, just hold shift. Then you can release when you've got the size that you want. And then you can change the color. I'm gonna color pick this color. And then, as I said before, you can just duplicate these in a row. If you want to indicate that you're not 100% proficient in something, and let's say you're just 90% proficient in something, then you can just simply swap that over to the outline, and there you go. So that's quite nice and easy to do. Then for this bit here, so what I did is I downloaded a CV from Freepik, and it already had all those assets in it. I made sure that it was an Illustrator file and then just copied them over. But a very quick way of doing it yourself would be to just simply draw a circle and then to go over it like so. That looks kind of crap, doesn't it? And then you should be able to just copy that over. Use this selection tool, click on the point you want to delete, delete that, Then you've got a half circle, and you can lay it and align it on top of that and choose a different color. Go with something like this. And then, to be honest, all I did is copy that over. If you want to fill out this circle a bit more, you rotate this however much you want and you just bring it in like that. So that's how I would fudge it. And then obviously you can add a text box and say 70%. And this font is absolutely gorgeous for this. So no, let's just go with a normal font for this. And you can make that bigger, you can just tweak it however you like. So that's how to do that. Let's say you wanted something a bit more squiggly in the background. What you can do is just draw shapes like this. I connect that with the straight line tool. And you can change the color for that as well, whatever you'd like. You can drop a shadow. If the rounded edges are kind of not nice enough, you just click on it and you can just tweak things. That's how you'd do something like that. So those were all my tips and tricks. I will share my latest portfolio with you now. Just one thing to bear in mind when you see this portfolio, I have edited it slightly just so that I can upload it, and I had to take out some projects that I've worked on just for confidentiality, because some of the projects that I've worked on, they aren't actually in stores yet. I unfortunately can't share those projects with you, but I will still be able to show you a big chunk of the portfolio, and I don't really think you will be missing out on anything. So this is the title page, and I have just included a nice sketch on the left here, and it's always quite nice to just have a nice visual to lead with. Then I've also included my design philosophy here, and it's always nice to include a design philosophy somewhere. Then moving on to the second page, as you can see, I removed most of my contact details here, and then I have added a picture of myself. You don't necessarily need to add a picture of yourself. And then I have included a paragraph about myself. This is usually something that you can also put in your CV. And then I have added my design philosophy in here as well. Then I have included some soft skills over here and some software skills over here, and I've tried grouping the softwares. So for example, I've put Revit, SketchUp and Cinema 4D together. And then the next page would usually be a contents page, but for this portfolio I have not included a contents page. So then moving on to the first project, I have included what design sector this is from. So this is a workplace design example. I have included the brief here, and then I've wrote a description of what my design process was like. And I've put some materials here, and then I have included some mood board images on the side. It's quite nice if you can make the whole page work together and not have one part be the mood board and the next part be the concept board, then the next part be the material board. It's nice when you can just blend it and merge everything together. This is the second page for that design. I have made sure to include a sketch visual and then a bunch of technical drawings as well. This is another little project. This is also workplace design. So this portfolio would be great if you're applying somewhere that does offices. And this is another space in the same office, and it's nice to lead with a big visual. And then I move into the actual design and show a few renders. And then this is retail design, which is what I did a lot of in my last job. And this is also the section where I had to take a few projects out just for client privacy. So this was a small project for Sky, and this was to redesign a lectern. This is the current design, and this is the design that I've come up with. And here's the mood board for it and sort of my thought process. For that same lectern, I included a second option just in case they're strayed too far from their brand. So I added touches of red, and usually their brand colours and their retail spaces look a little bit more like this. So I've just provided a second option for them. This is just a really small project of a wall mural. And then this is actually a uni project that I did. So this is the oldest project. And for this, I have quite a lot of sketches, and then I've included the materials on the side. On the second page for this project, I have included some of the final visuals, and I've tried to include the strongest visuals here. Some of these visuals I'm not too pleased with. This is quite a very old project, but I still thought it would be really nice to show this just because it shows a project from start to finish. And then moving on to the last couple of pages, I have included the DI drawings, so the technical drawings. So for this first one, I just included a construction plan, and then I also included a section. And you could make this section a little bit longer. You could add a few more technical drawings. It's also nice to show a technical drawing of any furniture that you've designed or wayfinding, for example. And then for the last page, I have included an equipment schedule. And as I said before, one page of that is enough because all you need to show is that you know how to do an equipment schedule. What I sometimes do is just have a last finishing page and just say left blank on purpose, just so that it looks a little bit more like a book. But yeah, that's my whole portfolio. I hope this video was helpful. I hope you liked it. Leave me any comments if you have any questions, and I would appreciate if you liked this video, if you could just give this video a little like, and if you could subscribe if you like my channel. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you with another video very soon. Goodbye!